Welcome to arrays. We should start by defining what arrays are in Java. So an array is a container object. They have fixed number of values. So like here, these are the fixed number of values inside the container, and they are all of the same data type. So if you're doing int, the whole array has to have integers. If you're doing string, the whole array has to have string and the other data types as we had learned in the previous session. Then the length of the array is determined while you're creating it, and after it's created, that's it. You cannot change the length of the array. So by definition, it's a container object with a fixed number of values of the same data type, and the length is determined during creation. That is an array in Java. Now, I want to show you a few more things that will become apparent during the demos that are upcoming. We have indices, and this is the first index, the second, the third, the fourth, and so on and so forth. So the index always starts from a 0 and increments with 1 all the way up to the end of the length of the array. So there is the first one, and that all together they form what we call indices. Of course, that goes without, if you are a master of English, then that goes without saying. And then for each index, there is an element. An element is what is stored inside the said, let me just say container. Okay, so for example, as you're seeing in index 0, we have element 0. In 1, we have element 1. In 2, we have element 2, and so on and so forth. This is not always what is inside indices. When you're creating your array, sometimes if you're working with string, then at index 0 could be a string value, or string element, as we will see in an upcoming day. Another thing about arrays is the length. So length is counted from 1 all the way up to the last element. Like we're seeing in this, there is a length of 11 in the array, but the last index is 10. So if you're really keen on code, what you will tend to see is, given that this is the length and these are the indices, when you want to refer to the limit of the last index, what you'll do is you'll find the array length, and then you will subtract 1 from it. So this is always how it works. The length of the array minus 1 represents the last index number, and this illustration here depicts that very clearly. So if you see array length minus 1, it is referring to the last index of the array. Just to be clear on that, we have the index numbers from 0 incrementally, then we have the length from 1, and the length minus 1 usually represents the last index. If the elements are me, us, and you, which are string values, then the element at index 0 is me, at index 1 is us, at index 2 is you, and the length of this array is 3. Okay, this is the syntax. When it comes to creating arrays, you have the array type, the data type could be, or the type, and then the array name, and you can initialize it. So there are ways of doing that. I'll show us that in a few. When you're writing the type of the array, you usually work with square brackets as indicated here. You can also place the square brackets while you're naming the array, but this is a discouraged syntax. So because it's a type and it's an array, it's encouraged that you place the square brackets after the type and not after the name, just so you know. So let's go to the demo and see what's up with this. I have this project on GitHub, and I have attached the GitHub link in the description. So we have an example class, array demo. I've changed it a bit. If you're working with a tutorial, you might think that there are a few changes here and there. So we start from the top. we have a class ArrayDemo. It's our beginning to demonstrating what arrays are and to see those concepts come alive. So what we're going to do in this, we're going to declare an array of integers. This is the declaration. The type is int. The syntax was the type and then the name. So the type is int with the square brackets and then the name of the array. Then we're initializing it and allocating length. Okay. So we're initializing it using the new keyword. It's an object. It's an object. So if you understood objects as covered earlier, then you'll understand why we're using the word new in the type. Then square brackets with the length. This is one way of doing it, but there's a shortcut. This is one way of doing it, but there's a shortcut on how to do it here. So the same thing, they all do the same thing, where you just have the type, the name, and then you use curly braces with the elements inside as a shortcut, instead of initializing it like this and then putting elements one by one in the array, such as this. Another thing I'll have us know is this is what you intend to do, then you can just iterate using a for loop or loops. We'll talk about loops in later on, still under language basics. So you call on the array, you specify the index, and you set the element all the way up to the last one, which is index 9. I had said if the length is 10, the last index will be 10 minus 1. So if the length is 10, the last index will be 9. And you'll continue to see that. Okay, there are better ways of doing this, of course. Feel free to work with your favorite AI to determine how you can improve on this code. But for now, when you're working with the basics, I'll have us work with it. So if I run this array demo, I should see that what will be printed out is element at index 0 is the array at index 0. Element at index 1 is the array element at index 1, and so on and so forth up to the last one. And I also made a point which is not in the link above or in the link from the source of including the length. So the length is always array name and dot length. Okay, so let's run this. So we have 100, 200, all the way up to 1000 and the length. That is a nice intro into arrays. What else do we need to know about arrays? We need to know that there are arrays of arrays, also known as multidimensional array. And a multidimensional array is an array that has other arrays as its components. So going back to the demo, I'll show us what this is. So this is a multidimensional array, which reminds me the first instance in which we interacted with arrays was with the Phalanx parameter method by the syntax, the type, and the name. So what we'll have is from names, fetch the array at element 1, which is that one, and then in that array fetch the element at index 0, which is that, and then fetch still from names the array at index 1, which is that, and the element from that array at index 0, which is this. So we have Mr. Smith. Same applies to Ms. Jones, and I also made an effort to print the length. So here we go. I should get Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones and the array length. Please ignore my warnings. I will deal with them later, if at all. Then we have copying of arrays with its demo. So let's go review this. So with copying of arrays, we have several methods available from us from different sources. The first source that you're working with is from the system class. Then the second, it looks like this, but then we'll also review one from the arrays class in java.utils package. So let's review this first. This is the system class method and original method and what it expects. So from what you're working with, it expects the object source, the position from the source, the destination, and the destination is the destination position in int and the length. So if you have this array here of string elements, and we have a copyTo array that has been initialized to the length of 7, working with arrayCopy, this method here, we have copy from passed in as the object source, as shown here, to passed in as the integer from the source position. So if you're working with this array, then it will be 0, index 0, index 1, and index 2. So it should be from copyOfRange. It's inclusive of that. Then destination position here, 0, and the length 7. And we're iterating through the results, so I should see from cappuccino up to the point where the length is 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fredo should be the last thing on display here. Okay, let's see how the range works. So if you're working with copyOfRange, there's an error in my code. Probably won't be any in yours. Again, I've fixed it when I read. It's just like a warning, but it will run. So we have copyOfRange. Then there's copy from. Where am I copying from? Sorry. So there's copy from this array. Then we're passing in 2 because we want it to start from cappuccino. So 2 is inclusive, meaning it will start from cappuccino 0, 1, 2. But 9 is exclusive, meaning that it will start from the last thing will be Fredo, which is index 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally, array manipulation. So let's go to the demo and have an end to our array discussion. There is a lot more methods available in java.utils.Arrays class, and I have made a point of including java.utils.Arrays without importing it. So at all times when you're going through the code, you'll know that this method is from java.utils.Arrays. I want us to work with this so we can always remember when we are manipulating arrays, we have a package ready for us to do that. So what's happening in this class with array manipulation? We have an array mani. These are the elements. So I just wanted to specify the index, element 1 at index 0, element 2 at index 1, so you know what you're interacting with. And then I had to initialize the constructor, and what I wanted to do here is to sort the array. And the reason why I sorted the array is because when we work with binarySearch later in this code, in this part, we will have a binarySearch requires a sorted array. So when initializing it, I wanted it to be sorted. But please note that does not necessarily apply for the rest of the examples. You can always, this is just for illustration purposes, it's not really written according to the best practices of coding. Okay, I wanted to also print out the initialized, the sorted array, so you would know what are the changes so far, so the results will not be a surprise to us. Okay, so we start from here. When you want to search an array for a specific value and have it return an index of that value, you can work with binarySearch. Okay, I'll show us this from the source code. So in binarySearch, it's a method in the java.utils.Arrays package or class. So it wants us to pass in the array and the key here being just the element, as you will see in this main method. So we start from the top in our main method. We're instantiating our array manipulation class. Then we want to print out the binarySearch result. We are passing in element 10 index 9, which is from the original one, but once it's sorted, things will change. Then let me run that first. So we'll print this out so I can run that so I can focus at one thing at a time. Okay, so once it's sorted, we are getting that the array 10 index 9 is in index 0. So when it returns a 0, that is expected. If I wanted it, for example, to return element 6 index 5, and run that, it's returning a 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is correct. So just you can practice some more with that. I'll just return them to how it was so it can be consistent with the GitHub link. Then moving on, if you want to compare two arrays are equal, then you work with the equals method, still from the same class. So I worked with array compare, and then I worked with array money to compare array compare, and I expect this to return false. Of course, they are not the same. For the arrays to be considered to be the same, they need to have equal number of elements, and they need to also have the same sequence of the said elements. So this is false as expected. Then moving on to the second part, the third part actually. If you want to fill an array with a value of a specified element, then we will work with fill method. So in this case, although I'll walk us through the source, we are filling the array here from index 0 to index 3. There we go. Filled up, filled up, filled up. Okay. From index 0 to index 3 exclusive. So 0, 1, 2. And finally, in our illustration, in our demo, we have another instance of array here, where you can just work with the word that you want to fill the entire array without having to specify the indices. So we have array fill 2 here, and we want to fill it with array 2 entirely. So you can run that. I have to use toString method to display the array. Otherwise, if I do not use toString method, it will return very funny values. So if I run this, then I should see 100 grey, 100 grey, 100 grey. And that is that on our demo. So for more information about this array manipulation and so on, you can check out the arraycopy method here on system. This is how you work with the links. I'll attach them in the description, and they are also in the code on GitHub, in the code I shared on GitHub. So if you want to find out more about a particular method, you will click on it like that, and then you'll see a lot of notes about it to help you understand what it was designed for and how you can apply it. So that's one. Then we also have the java.utils package that I've walked us through so far. java.utils.Arrays, and it has several methods that we've used. We've worked with binarySearch for different types. We've worked with equals for different types, and so we've worked with fill, so on and so forth. So if you want to check out the method, you can just click on it, and then you'll see more about it here. That's how you use the source code. And just so it's clear, I didn't have to write java.utils.Arrays throughout. I just did that without importing it because I wanted us to be more familiarized with the package that this is coming from, that the methods are coming from. Otherwise, I could have just done java.utils.Arrays, then work with the method as they are. And so you can work with import statements such as this, so you don't have to write them out in full. For example, arrays.sort can work if I have this import statement. Okay, so that is how. But I decided to use it as is so we can be more familiarized with what is going on in the methods of the said package. Okay, so that's it. I'll see you on the next one.